rankings. Where do I have teams 1 through 16? Now that spring's over, we've seen the portal kids and how they've adapted a little bit. We've seen a few upcoming recruits if they did enroll early, and we've just seen how the returning production and the new coaching staffs are operating. At the bottom, I still have Arkansas. I think this team is worse talent-wise than they were a year ago. You lose Taylon Green, you lose your running back. They're gonna struggle. Now, will they only win 2 games? My guess is they'd win more, just because I don't know how you lost to Memphis a year ago. That is an inexplainable loss. I think the defense will be slightly better, but there's still just way too many offensive questions. And Silverfield cannot be judged off this first year because he has the worst talented team in the SEC. So he could be a great coach, and this team might win 4 games. Next, I have Kentucky. Kentucky did a lot of good things in the portal. They went out and got a lot of players. But my whole knock on Kentucky is outside of the offensive line portal guys that they brought in, tons of inexperience. Think Kenny Minchey, very inexperienced quarterback. My big guys in terms of like injury worry is Nick Anderson and CJ Baxter. Like, they're awesome players when they're on the field. And if they're healthy and they're able to reach their potential, like, yeah, they'll be really, really good at Kentucky. There's also the chance that they get injured and play 3 games each. So it's like, I can't rely on those guys to really carry this team through an SEC schedule. And when you look at a lot of those other transfers, tons of unproven guys, like Kenny Minchey, a guy that just has never played, never started at Notre Dame, was never going to start at Notre Dame. Way too many questions. Mississippi State, I got at 14. This roster intrigues me a little bit. I think they're as talented as they've been in some time. Kamario Taylor is a really, really good quarterback. And I really, really do like him, and I think he'll be successful in the future. I just think Mississippi State's a little too, like a year too early is kind of what I'm going for. Vanderbilt, I got at 13. They're very young. What are they going to look like post Diego Pavia? My guess is they're going to regress a little bit. Now, maybe they're somewhere around 10 through 12 instead of 13. Maybe. I do see this team regressing. I don't think they have the talent they've had in years past. A lot of those guys are now in the NFL. 12, I got Auburn. Auburn's kind of that next tier of like, okay, this team's got some upside, but there's still too many question marks. And for Auburn, that's wide receiver and defensive line. They're just too inconsistent for me, and I don't know exactly what I'm getting. The good news is a lot of those wide receivers played at USF. Think of the RPO, the mesh offense, that the offense will be for Auburn next year. And it's like, okay, maybe they have success. Maybe they win 1-score games, and maybe they do end up at 8-4, maybe 9-3. But for right now, I got them at 12. Very similar story with Florida at 11. I like the roster, if I'm being honest with you. I think the roster's really, really talented, but I think there's 2 key position groups that I'm not believing in right now, and that's offensive line and that's quarterback. Just too big of questions there. And if you do not have a quarterback in the SEC, it is remarkably hard for me to believe that you are going to be a great team. It's happened before in the past, but it's really difficult to do. And I don't know if Florida has the roster to where their quarterback can be subpar and they're still successful. The good news for Florida, their schedule is pretty easy. So maybe they do end up with a better record than expected, in part because they don't need to be a top 5 team in the SEC to end up with a handful of wins this season, or more than a handful of wins. 10, I got Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be a good team. My biggest worry is the offense. I know they're returning 9 starters. Their quarterback play looked really bad in spring ball. Certainly didn't help them. Still big-time defensive questions as well in terms of what will they look like. Injuries have kind of been a problem in the past for them, particularly at cornerback a year ago. They got to stay healthy. Jim Knowles, might be mentioned later in this episode, needs to be really good. And if Tennessee wants to be a top 25 team, maybe a college football playoff team, defense has got to be really, really good. South Carolina got at 9. I've been very, very vocal about how much I like this South Carolina team. I love Dylan Stewart. I think he's a top 5 pick. I like Lenore Sellers. I like some things that they did on the offensive line. Jacarius Peaks, as long as he's healthy, I think he'll be really good up front. I like the secondary quite a bit. I think South Carolina's going to be a good team. I got them like very much middle of the SEC. 1-score games, and this has included Tennessee, Florida, and Auburn. 1-score games are your season. You got to be good in 1-score games. A year ago, South Carolina wasn't. I think they'll be better this year. Moving to 8. Give me Missouri. Ahmad Hardy, terrible incident within the last week. He ended up getting shot. He looks like he'll be good, and it looks like he'll recover, which is good for him just in life, and also obviously good for the Missouri team. He needs to be good. I think Austin Simmons will be fine. Wide receiver is a bit of a worry, and then returning production on defense is a huge question mark for me. I think they'll be good enough. And Eli Drinkwitz has been really consistent in the SEC. You can say a lot of things about he's not broken through to that like next tier yet, which he hasn't. But he's been a very, very serviceable coach. At a program like Missouri, I got them at 8. I think they'll be good. Ole Miss at 7. A lot of people think that that is a little bit too low, but here's what I'm telling you. Losing Charlie Weis is going to hurt. He's one of the best offensive coordinators in the entire country. He's a star. And I understand they still have one of the best best quarterbacks and best running backs in all of college football, but their wide receivers worry me a little bit. And then how great will the defense be? Some people tell me it's going to be a lot better. Some people tell me it's going to be a lot worse. I think it'll be very similar. I think Ole Miss will be good. Another team, one-score games are going to be everything for Ole Miss. Give me the 6. Texas A&M. Another team that lost an offensive coordinator. Colin Klein's now the head coach at Kansas State. That's a big-time loss. What will Marcel Reed look like? And for Texas A&M, at the end of the season a year ago, they didn't look that good. When they played good teams, they really didn't look good. Think Texas. Think Miami. What are they going to look like next year? Are we going to see the team that beat Notre Dame, that rolled LSU on the road? Or are we going to see the team that gave up explosive plays and turned the ball over too much? Because both of those were Texas A&M a year ago, and they return a ton of talent. Their only really big losses were Concepcion and then Howell. They're going to be a good team, but how good will they look against good teams? That's my biggest worry, because at the end of the year, they kind of had a good schedule, and then they didn't really prove themselves at the end. Getting into the top 5, I'd say these are the teams that you could see ending up in the SEC championship game, maybe even winning it. LSU, I got at 5. You bring in Charlie Weis. You still have Baker at defensive coordinator, one of the best portal classes in the entire country. Why are they at 5 and not higher? One, Sam Levitt's availability is going to be a question for me. The wide receiver play should be really, really good. Running back's still a question, right? They brought in some talent through the portal. Do they have that guy? Because LSU a year ago could not run the ball. Offensive line, kind of in that same vein. Can they run the ball next year? Because if they can't run the ball, it's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough for them to be incredibly successful. But if they can run the ball, I trust Sam Levitt and he's healthy. I think the offense will be really good, especially under Charlie Weis. Turning that defense, Baker's one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. I really like the defense. I think they are star-studded. They're full of talent. Weeks will be good. But Lane Kiffin's their head coach, and he's got some stones that have not quite been turned over. He's not won a playoff game, has one playoff appearance, and the expectation at LSU is to win championships. We'll see how that's going to develop. I got him at 5 right now. Oklahoma, I got at 4. Really like the roster. I think the wide receiver room is going to be good. I think the offensive line did some necessary improvements. I think Arbuckle is still a fine offensive coordinator. Really love Brent Venables in the head coach. My biggest question about Oklahoma, do they have enough explosive power to win playoff games and to just flat out beat good teams? Not mess around, find ways to win, play good defensive football, and play keep away and just end up with wins how they did against Texas and how they did against Alabama. But can they line up for 60 minutes and beat a good team? And that's kind of beat a great team. That's kind of my question. I don't know if they can do that quite yet. I know they can mess around, make things ugly, and win. But can they line up against a Texas, against a Georgia, and just be better than them? Just snap the ball, and my guys are better than your guys. I don't know if they're quite there yet. That's why they're at 4. Alabama, I got Alabama right now at 3. Because the quarterback's a ginormous question. The running back's a question. The offensive line's a bit of a question. The wide receiver room's a bit of a question. That defense might be a top 5 defense in the country. It might not be 5, 4, 3, 2, or they might be 1. Secondary's amazing. I really do trust the front 4. Although they lost a little bit in transfers, most of them ended up at Ohio State. I still really think the defense will be incredible. The offense is just what I worry about. I think Russell will start. I think he'll be good. My biggest worry is the running game. In the spring practice, they still couldn't run the ball. This team has to learn how to run the football if they want to win the SEC. That's why I got them at 3. It's because their inability to run, but they're certainly going to be one of the best teams in the SEC. Kalen DeBoer is an awesome coach. Georgia, I got at 2. They are incredible. I think Nate Frazier is one of the best backs in the country. I got him at 5 right now in terms of like overall Georgia running back room. Wide receiver is a massive question. I think Gunnar Stockton, though, is a sneaky New York type guy next year where he might end up at that ceremony. He's really, really good. I think the offensive line is going to be better than it was a year ago. And then that defense, it is a Kirby Smart defense. They are going to be great. I don't see this being a year where they're bad at all. But there's going to be a handful of games and a handful of plays that decide this team's season, just like pretty much every team literally on this list. They need to be good in one-score games. And they need to just play their game and then hope for nothing dumb to happen, because the last couple of years they've dealt with quarterback injuries at really bad times and things like that. But I got them at 2. I think Georgia's going to be really good next year. Shocker. At number 1, it's Texas. A lot of people pounding on the door. This team's overrated. This team's overrated. This team's overrated. This team's overrated. What I'm going to tell you, with that portal class, Biles on defense, Cam Coleman on offense, Smothers, how deep they are. Rakeem's looking like he's going to play every position for Texas this year. They're going to be incredible. Ryan Wingo out there at wide receiver. I don't think there is a roster in America outside of maybe Oregon that's as talented front to back as this Texas one. Plus you have Will Muschamp, you have Steve Sarkisian still leading the offense. They're going to be incredible. They really are. Now, are they going to be perfect? I don't think so, but they're going to be really good. Coming out of spring, I do have them as the best team in the SEC. I would not be shocked if they win the conference. I would not be shocked if they win a whole lot more. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about my SEC power rankings. I know they're always a very hotly debated topic.